We're halfway through the year, and before we rush into July, set new goals, or fill our calendars with more things to do, I think it's worth pausing for a moment and asking a different question. If nothing changed over the next 6 months, would you be happy with where your life is headed? Not perfect, not finished, not have you achieved every goal, just headed in the right direction. Today, I want to share 5 questions I'm using for my own mid-year reset. You don't need a planner. You don't need a complicated system. You don't even need a notebook, although it might help. Just take a few minutes to think about your answers as we go. Because sometimes the biggest changes don't come from setting more goals, they come from asking better questions. Question number 1. What's actually working right now? This is where most people struggle because we're often so focused on what's missing that we forget to notice what's improving. Maybe you've started walking more. Maybe you've improved your finances. Maybe you've become more consistent with a habit. Maybe you're learning a new skill. Maybe you've been showing up for yourself in small ways that nobody else sees. Before we focus on what's broken, take a moment to ask, what deserves more credit? What should I continue doing in the second half of the year? Because not everything needs to be fixed. Sometimes the smartest thing we can do is keep doing more of what's already working. Question number 2. What's draining my energy? Not my time, my energy. Because those aren't always the same thing. Maybe it's clutter, maybe it's unfinished projects. Maybe it's too many commitments. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's comparison. Maybe it's constantly worrying about things that haven't happened yet. Sometimes we spend so much energy carrying things that no longer belong in our lives. And until we identify those energy leaks, it becomes difficult to create momentum. So ask yourself, where is my energy going? And is it worth the cost? Question number 3. What am I avoiding? This is often the most uncomfortable question because most of us already know the answer. Maybe it is reviewing your finances. Maybe it's updating your resume. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation. Maybe it's making a health appointment. Maybe it's starting a project you've been thinking about for months. Maybe it's admitting that something in your life needs to change. The thing we're avoiding often takes up more mental space than the thing itself. So ask yourself, what have I been putting off? And what would happen if I finally faced it? Question number 4. If nothing changed, where would I be 6 months from now? This is the question that always gets my attention because it's easier to assume that someday things will magically improve. But what if they don't? If your health stayed exactly where it is today, how would you feel? If your finances stayed exactly where they are today, how would you feel? If your relationships, career, habits, confidence, or daily routine stayed exactly the same, how would you feel? Not next week, not tomorrow, 6 months from now. This isn't meant to create fear. It's meant to create awareness, because awareness often comes before meaningful change. Question number 5. What's one decision that could make the biggest difference? Not 10 goals, not a complete life overhaul. One decision, one commitment, one next step. Maybe it's starting a fitness routine. Maybe it's applying for a new opportunity. Maybe it's setting better boundaries. Maybe it's decluttering your space. Maybe it's taking a class. Maybe it's finally beginning something you've talked yourself out of for years. Big changes rarely happen all at once. Most of the time, they begin with one honest decision. So ask yourself, what decision would future me thank me for making? As I've been thinking about these questions, one thing keeps coming back to me. Building a bigger life usually doesn't happen because of one dramatic breakthrough. Most of the time, it happens because we stop long enough to pay attention. We ask better questions, we make better decisions, and then we take one small step forward. So as we head into the second half of the year, whether you're looking 12 weeks ahead or 6 months ahead, I hope you'll take a few minutes to think about your answers. You don't need to reinvent your life this week. You don't need to have everything figured out. Maybe you just need one honest decision. And that decision might change more than you think.